Good morning, everybody. It's Michael. Today I'm going to address the rumor about a 150 megapixel Canon sensor that may be coming. The short answer on this, it's not likely that this is going to be a consumer grade sensor released in something like a full frame camera anytime soon. It's not going to happen. And the reason is the lens ecosystem is just not there. We have seen a number of Canon cameras run into lens resolving problems, such as the 5DS and the 5DSR. We saw it in the Canon 90D, is that when we're dealing with tighter pixel pitches, around that 4.1 microns, is Canon's older lenses can't resolve them. That's when the lenses really start running into problems. And this can actually answer another question. Is there an ideal size for an APS-C in a full-frame sensor? And I would say absolutely yes. And it changes a little bit depending on the lens ecosystem of the manufacturer. So for example, I would say the ideal APS-C size sensor is between 20 to 24 megapixels. And the reason I can say that is when you get over that 24 megapixels, we start to see these lens resolving problems as we did in the 90D. So if we were to apply this same pixel pitch to a full frame camera, we're looking at anywhere between 45 to 50 megapixels if you're looking for an ideal sized pixel pitch. I've made a number of videos about this. The problem that happens is when you get very, very tight, very small stencils on the sensor, the lenses are not able to resolve due to diffraction issues, and the images look soft. So the problem with this is that camera manufacturers will now have lenses that aren't as compatible. And because of this, I believe the megapixel war is absolutely over, at least for now, with the systems that current manufacturers have. I have to emphasize this has more to do with pixel pitch than it does megapixels. If we look at Fuji's GFX 100, that is a 100 megapixel sensor. But again, we're talking about a medium format camera. And when we look at the pixel pitch, it's just under 4, different set of lenses. If we take a look at Canon's R mount, I believe those lenses, the pro end, the high end lenses are just incredible. They're very sharp. And so in the case of the new Canon R lenses, I think we could see a 70 or an 80 megapixel sensor, and those lenses might be able to handle it. Just kind of depends. And if it happens, I guess we'll see it. This isn't an exact number because as we've seen in Sony cameras, if you look at the A7R4, that's a 60 megapixel sensor, and we don't hear about a lot of the lens resolving problems with it. And that's because those G Master lenses and the higher end lenses can absolutely resolve it. So there is some leeway. But suffice it to say, 20 to 24 on an APS-C, anywhere from 45 to 60 on a full frame for the current lens ecosystems is pretty much ideal. When you get over those megapixel sizes, you're going to start running into problems. And for a 150 megapixel full frame sensor, we're talking about 36 by 24 millimeters, you're looking at about 2.4 microns. And so what I'm saying is the lenses, in my honest opinion, there's probably only a couple primes that could resolve that on Canon cameras, at least at the time of this recording. That is not to say the sensor is impossible because Canon probably actually has a 150 megapixel sensor. It's just whether or not this is going to be for everybody. Some of those Canon lenses have been around since the late 1990s. And so this is one of the struggles I believe Canon is having with these lens resolving issues. So some of the questions I'm going to get are in regards to cell phones. If you take a look at like the S20, a high megapixel sensor, far greater pixel pitch, 1 micron, just over 1 micron, how is it possible? Well, in those cases, we're talking about a fixed lens on a smartphone. That lens was designed only for that sensor. And in that regard, yes, we could see a 150 megapixel sensor, but we would be looking at lenses that would be redesigned for the sensors. Maybe it would be a special series for the camera, but suffice it to say, we're not going to see a consumer 150 megapixel sensor anytime soon because of the bottlenecks of the lens ecosystem. So I hope that answers your questions in regards to the 150 megapixel sensor rumors that we're hearing. In any event, I would love to know what your questions are. If you're struggling to learn your camera, check out one of my many crash courses. I'll put those links in the description. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.